There wasn't a lot of guidance, right? And like you said, I didn't know where things were taking me. I was like, this sounds good. Like, let's just keep
Yeah,
going. And I kept
yeah.
chasing these passions. We have never had people that got to the interview, went through the technical, and just like bombed it.
Welcome to the first 2025 episode of the Cyber Stories podcast, where we have conversations with tech and cybersecurity professionals from diverse backgrounds, experiences, and perspectives. Today in episode 23, I'm chatting with Anthony Bendas, a co-founder at Level Effect, where he designs and delivers cutting-edge cybersecurity training programs, including their flagship Cyber Defense Analyst Program. With over a decade of experience spanning penetration testing, security consulting, and engineering, he has built a reputation for translating complex security concepts into practical, real-world applications. As the architect of Level Effect's industry-first virtual SOC training environment, Anthony has created immersive, hands-on learning experiences that equip cybersecurity professionals with the technical and operational skills necessary to excel in their cybersecurity roles. His expertise spans network security, cyber threat intelligence, vulnerability management, and pen testing, all of which are super integral to the curriculum he has developed for Level Effect. The virtual SOC from Level Effect has also been recognized as a transformative learning platform, earning accolades such as the top-rated and best Cybersecurity Bootcamp 2024 award by Course Report. In today's episode, we talk about Anthony's background before getting into cybersecurity, his role as co-founder and cybersecurity trainer at Level Effect, the cybersecurity bootcamp industry, and various aspects of the cybersecurity job market and building a successful cybersecurity career. Before we get to the episode, if you're watching on YouTube, please be sure to like and subscribe. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever else you get your podcast, please leave us a 5-star rating as it supports our work. Also, bear in mind that this episode was filmed in the summer of 2024, so the dates referenced here are all for 2024. That being said, I'm your host, Dave Johnson, and welcome to another episode of the Cyber Stories podcast. Hey, Anthony, how you doing?
Doing well, Day. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How's your Friday going?
It's a good Friday. It's been a good week. We just kicked off a live cohort here. It's busy, fun, lots of things going on, but it's been a good week, man. How about you?
Man, it's been a long, busy week. I've been kind of like deep in this investigation at work. It's been fun and busy at the same time. I'm also incident commander this week, so it's been kind of like stressful, balancing like incident command with like regular work stuff. But it's about to be over, so I'm looking forward to having a a little bit less workload for next week. But been great so far.
Nice. Yeah. Commander duty.
Oh yeah, yeah. But either ways though, I'm glad to have you on here.
Yeah.
We kind of connected on LinkedIn a few months back when I was like
Mhm.
preparing for the live Q&A for cybersecurity boot camps with regards to like if they were worth it. We connected, regarding that particular post I made about that live stream, and I figured it'd be a good opportunity to like have a conversation with you, being in that kind of like space of cybersecurity boot camps. And I would preface this by saying like this is actually the first video I'm making about like anything like boot camp related, and I actually was more than interested in doing this because I've heard good things about Level Effect. First and foremost, this video is not sponsored, but I have, watched other creators like John Hammond. Of course, everybody knows about John Hammond. He's made videos about Level Effect. And I know like some of the other founders also work at Huntress where John works. And so I also have a friend, Jordan, Talis Jordan, and he is a graduate of Level Effect. So generally all I've heard about Level Effect is it has been good things. So when the opportunity arose for us to talk about it, I figured it would be a good opportunity to talk about like talk to someone who's actually like leading in that space and see like what your background is, and also like just the whole idea, concept, and philosophy behind how things are running in Level Effect. But before we go into that, let's get started with who you are as a person. Like who's Anthony, and how did you get into cybersecurity and why?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm glad were able to connect on socials over there. Your post made quite a stir. There's a lot of noise kind of bouncing around it. I mean, and rightly so. So I'm glad you're digging into this topic and kind of giving it some more attention. I love talking about this kind of space over here. So I guess a little bit about me. So my background, I mean, I started back getting into cybersecurity back in 2015. And at that time, I wasn't in the industry. I'm not through the traditional funnels. Like I'm not through the military, kind of IT school. I'm not. I am a career changer. So
Mm,
kind of a lot like many students that wanted to get into cybersecurity. I came from a different field. I was in the luxury hotels
mm,
bracket. I was working at Fairmont Hotels, which love it, great chain. And at that time, I was over at sort of like a senior operations manager position,
right.
and it was fortuitous, I guess, because um, it was very much operations, like representing the general manager, director of operations at the time. But I was really involved with a lot of GRC, a lot of IT
Mm,
work as well too. And I'm a huge tech hobbyist kind of geek nerd. Like I'm okay to
Yeah.
say it. I'm proud of
Yeah.
it. I grew up like that, tinkering around with the computers. So when I was in that role, I started to work with IT, and I was involved with like rolling out like the iPods for housekeeping, like making sure the rooms are up to snuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I got more and more involved because I like it, right? And I found myself from that time, I was in that position for 3 years, and I just progressively got more and more involved in IT. Like,
Yeah.
when the hotel was blowing up in the weekend, the servers were crashing, I became that guy. Like, I was running over there because of all the exposure I was getting. So, I
Wow.
gained a ton of IT experience working directly with them. Um, the GRC side of things, I was involved with some of the more top level policies kind of rolling down,
Hmm.
compliance, fair usage, anything that kind of was rolling out the hotel, I was really spearheading
Wow.
as well too. And I also got really involved with asset management and risk management. So again, very fortuitous type of position. And as the years kind of went on from 2015, it was like 2016, 2017, I just said like I'm really enjoying this. I found myself just studying more. I was reading into the Network Plus. It was kind of out at that time. It was pretty popular. I wanted to study
Yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
but I didn't know where I wanted to go. Like, I
Hmm.
was actually looking at web developer stuff because that was all the rage at that time. It's like everyone wanted to become a developer, but my heart was really more in cybersecurity. Like, I kind of grew up. I was interested in the general tech space,
Hmm.
hackers. Like, I was watching that, playing
Yeah.
Shadowrun on Super Nintendo. Like, I was that kid, right? So,
Yeah.
um, I started studying more and more and more, and I eventually just said, you know what, I'm going to actually commit to it. And I just went full circle. I went and I built a home lab, which was brutal at that time. There was no good resource, man. Like, security was still really largely IT. Like, I was doing security stuff even in the IT help that I was doing.
Yeah.
So I had like a crummy old laptop spun up. I tried to get Linux running. I didn't even know how to install like
That
Ubuntu
is
Linux. It was
wild.
terrible at the time. Like, there were nowhere good resources. My first tip, I was told to start learning the difference between Java and JavaScript. And like, you hear that and it's just like, really? Like, now
For
we know, like, maybe,
cybersecurity?
right? Yeah, like that's what I was told back then. Like, it
That's
was
wild.
hard. Yeah. But I had a lot of good general exposure that way. I was building out a home lab on old devices that were like 4 gigs of RAM, like just scraping by kind of thing.
Yeah.
I studied, I got my Net Plus, I got my Sec Plus. I was just really, really enjoying it. And I said, okay, I think I'm ready to commit and I want to actually like hop purely in a technical position. So I started to apply and I got a job over here in the north end of Toronto as an analyst, kind of like as like an MSP, largely IT, a little security
Hmm.
centric, but largely IT. And I stayed there for a little bit. And I actually had gotten an offer shortly after that to move into a compliance engineer position, which was really cool because it was kind of like technical, like working hands on the team, but also really policy related. So kind of built on my past strengths. Some family stuff had happened, which kind of took me to go to the West Coast here in Canada,
Hmm.
and I was able to get a job back in the hotel bracket, but this time as a systems manager, and it was
Mm.
for several of the properties over here in the region, which was huge. And so IT and security, like it was all involved, and it was through
Yeah.
multiple properties, hundreds of endpoints, thousands of users. It was like it was a playground. So I used that time and I was learning a lot, and I had found a love for pen testing in that time. And pen testing I found to be the best of both worlds. Human
Yeah.
centric, so a lot of like root causes, reports, presentations, but still very technical at the same time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I started to pursue it. Yeah, like I and this was back, I think, what, 2018, 2019 ish.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when I left hotels, moved to this, and then I came back at like 2020 ish, I think 2021 or so, like around there, I think it was, off the top of my head. Stayed there, kind of use it as a playground, studied more, and then I started to just do vulnerability assessments. Like, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna run some scans. Like, sure, I'm gonna learn how to use Nmap and Qualys and other open source tools, whatever I can find, and
Yeah.
just like scan the network, right? Um, then I started to do it for free. I started to reach out and just like, hey, like, friend of mine, like, I can go scan your company. Like, let's just do like a vulnerability assessment. I started
Yeah.
to do it pro bono, and then I started to charge for it. And I just started the full-time consult at that point, and then I started to reach out different companies. I made some connections through that time, and I was just kind of doing different services and general consulting, from pen testing to management to GRC, a bunch of stuff. Had a good time, and then I met Greg and Rob, and that's how I kind of appeared over here. Level Effect. That's sort of like my backstory of how I got
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
I know it's a lot. It's a weird story. It's not common, but
Yeah.
that's how
No.
I ended up here.
Now that
Yeah.
is actually amazing. Like, that is actually like that is so interesting. Like, you literally went from like being sort of like a hobbyist of like, oh, like, being the guy that's like working on servers or like fixing stuff or like doing like
Yeah.
compliance or governance, whatever the case is, to
Yeah.
then going into IT, learning how to like do vulnerability assessments, pen testing, then doing that for free, and then turning that
Yeah.
into like something that you're getting paid for, and then
Yeah.
now to level effect. That is literally so interesting. It's like you like if you talk about someone like carving their own path, that is exactly what you did. I mean, you didn't really know like where it was taking you to, but like you just kind of like
No.
went with it and you eventually got to where you are right now. That's really, really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of guidance, right? And like you said, I didn't know where things were taking me. I was like, "This sounds good. Like, let's just keep
Yeah.
going." And I kept
Yeah.
chasing these passions.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think the market in Canada is also, I guess, maybe what sort of spurred that.
Mm.
It's harder to get a job here in Canada for cybersecurity. There's a lot less
Really?
positions. Yeah, yeah, compared to the
Wow.
US, maybe like a tenth of like the openings. Like it's a lot smaller. Like everything's into the US. So I
Mm.
was almost forced, I guess, to kind of like look for alternative means and avenues.
Mm.
Maybe that's a factor. I possibly, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like environmental constraints like make you like more adaptable or flexible, or make you
Yeah.
even try to like innovate like around, the situation. Like if things are now, I think that's like really one of the really cool things about just humans. Like we try to
Mhm.
find ways around like whatever constraints that we have around us, right? And that's what fundamentally makes us evolve. And it seems like you found a way around like whatever constraints were within Canada at that time, and essentially like made your own thing, like started your own path, which is really, really, really cool. And that background that you have, like you
Mhm.
said, all of those doing all of those things kind of led you down to level effect. So I want to ask you
Yeah.
what is the from your perspective, of course, like echoing like the other founders, what
Mhm.
was that origin idea of level effect? Like what why did they start level effect? Why did you start level effect? Why did you join level effect? What was it all about? What was the reason behind it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so we actually didn't even start as a training provider at first. At the
Mm,
time when I was just doing my journal consulting, working around, I met Greg and Rob, and Level Effect was actually a software company. Like we were building
really?
an EDR tool, primarily Greg and Rob. I was kind of just like a little bit here, there, doing some QA testing, helping out. But I mean,
Yeah.
it was all them at first. And it was to build an EDR tool based on network telemetry that could
Mm,
look and spot anomalies and trends, sort of an basically an additional tool to your local endpoint EDR tool that could work in tandem and sort of
wow.
spot that type of anomalous behavior. So they continued to build it out. It got acquired, so that's why they're over at Huntress. So Huntress
Mm,
acquired that technology and kind of brought it in while it was in development. And the
yeah.
guys are over there now building full time. They're doing their thing. And at that point, we were all still together, and we're like, hey, maybe we should consider training. And
Mm,
the reason being really was we saw a pretty big gap in the market of students would go to school, they would go to maybe like a 14, 17 grand boot camp, like 20 weeks long. They take a degree route, and they couldn't do packet analysis in Wireshark,
mm,
or they couldn't find persistence mechanisms in Windows. Like they would go to a boot camp for 18 weeks, but not be able to understand what the registry is and where a run key exists for malware
yeah.
start and login.
Yeah.
That kind of threw us off because we're like, that's not good. Like for us, we were like, people are going to go spend a lot of money. Maybe we can build a training program that is more like a trade school, more
Mm,
hands-on, more practical, and our goal would be let's just focus on one thing, and that would be the bulk of the workforce being analyst work.
yeah.
So let's just train you how to be an analyst and focus on hands-on methodology building, practical exercises. So that's kind of why the name, I guess, level effect. It's so the reason being, we kind of laugh about this, right? Like we looked at it and said, you got to get to the right level to deliver the right
Mm,
effect. And that's kind of the
mm,
name. So there is a meaning behind it. It's not like academy or dojo or anything, right?
yeah.
So there is a
I
purpose
mean,
to it.
it
Yeah.
sticks. It sticks though. It sticks though. And
Yeah.
that's actually that's wow. I didn't know the story behind that, but that's it's great that you have people with that level of experience, building out a training program like like yourself. Like you've definitely
Mhm.
been like through you've worked in cybersecurity, done cybersecurity stuff. You have those folks as well who've also worked in
Mhm.
cybersecurity to the point of building a product that's now acquired by a company like Huntress. Like that's like really experienced professionals, including yourself. So goes to show like the individuals behind the
Mhm,
program, right? And I think that is definitely like what makes level effect what it is, right? And also what helps it deliver the outcomes and deliver the results in the students that you've had so far. So
mhm,
going deeper into this, right? One of the things that actually intrigues me personally about the program, right, is the practicality, right? The hands-on approach. I think that's one thing that separates level effect from the other boot camps that I've seen. Because I will be very honest, right? I avoid talking about boot camps on the channel, and I avoid talking about anything on the channel that I don't have any experience with, right?
mhm,
Because I don't want to be a proponent for something that I can't put my name behind that, right? And I've had several like companies reach out to me, like several boot camps, several cybersecurity boot camps. I'm like, hey, like, would want you to like sponsor a video, but I'm like, can I actually like go through the boot camp? Can I actually like be a part of it? And then like, no, or like they'll be like, this is our curriculum, this is our syllabus, but I'm like, I can't really confirm what you're teaching here. Like, same like if I say, hey, go take BTL1 or CCD, I can speak behind that because I've taken that myself. I've been through
mhm,
that, so I can speak behind it. But I think just from association with people who have been in the boot camp and just like seeing those people and their outcomes, it's like giving me confidence to be able to like recommend it like privately and personally, but never on the channel. But now that we're talking about it, like the practical approach, the hands-on approach, right? Why the hands-on approach? You talked about previously about how people would come out of a boot camp or a college program and not know how to like use Wireshark or like look in the registry, whatever the case may be. But
mhm,
in comparison to like these other like other and I'm not trying to bash on other boot camps, but some other training
mhm,
programs or other
mhm.
boot camps that kind of go the more conceptual like security plus or like
Yeah.
CYC plus route. Why is your emphasis on practicality and on the specific things that you're focusing on within the boot camp?
Yeah, for sure. And like to your point right there is, I agree with you. I don't think it's a level of bashing. I don't think it's malicious intent at all. I don't
Mhm.
really think like someone, a lot of the providers said, hey, we're just going to like make a generalized boot camp, and I think they built it with good intentions and they wanted to see the success of the students.
Mm,
And truthfully, we all do believe that over here. I think, at least from our perspective, our level of analysis is that a lot of the boot camps that kind of propped up were mirroring the web developer bootcamp scene,
uh,
where they trained you and there was a need for those. Yes, there were gaps after they left, but you
yeah,
could actually be a very basic entry level developer, junior associate with really simple tickets, and you
yeah,
would grow on the field.
yeah.
And I think a lot of that success, they were like, well, cybersecurity is booming. Like we can do the same and there's a
Mm,
need, but cybersecurity is not entry level. And that's
mm,
sort of like that is where there was a bit of a disconnect. And
yeah,
that's where we saw students coming out saying, well, hold on, like I went through all of this and I did learn a lot. They did. They
yeah,
would learn, but it wasn't enough or targeted enough, I should say, because it was
yeah,
following the same recipe.
yeah,
That's our general perspective, and it seems to sort of work. Maybe we're
yeah.
wrong, but that's how we kind of look at it.
Hmm.
And for us, we said, well, how can we truthfully are not going to be able to train you as a generalist in all of cybersecurity in a 14 to 18 week program. We said like that
Right.
that is impossible. So what we can do is make you very effective in one area, just one specific role. And truthfully, that's why if you look at our actual curriculum and training, there's no like Kali Linux for 12 weeks of Metasploit. Like there's no like 3 weeks of GRC. There's no 3 weeks of Python kind of thing.
Yeah,
It's not a
yeah.
Sec Plus. It is strictly built on two things. One, we looked at the NIST NICE framework for the cyber
Mm,
defense analyst role. Like a solid curriculum, or not a curriculum, but rather an outline, knowledge,
yeah,
skills, abilities, tasks. Like this is what you need to do.
yeah,
Government kind of approved, public sector. It's robust. We all know that
yeah,
NIST is really good. So we
yeah,
said this is a good framework to look at instead of the Sec Plus.
yeah.
Two, let's take our experience. And if we can get you to triage a compromised Windows endpoint in an enterprise or SMB network, then we've done our job. So let's just get
Mm,
you to do that after 14 to 15 weeks.
yeah,
And we just focus solely on that one objective.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's a really good target for a boot camp. And I say boot camp now, and I kind of realize why you also mentioned like you wanted to be more of a trade school of in a
Yeah.
sense, because if you say boot camp, it's like if you think about the traditional sense of a boot camp, like in a military boot camp, it's like just get you ready for you to like just kind of be thrown
Yeah.
into the field. But I think what this sounds like, it's more of like we'll teach you how to do the thing, how to like do the job so that when you eventually get to the point of like an entry level or like starting position, you are able
Mhm.
to at least like do stuff on your own, or like, at least
Yes.
like have an understanding or a knowledge of like what is going on, and not just kind of be lost because you just learned
Yeah.
like conceptual things, or you just like, went through this speed run of like information overload that didn't get you ready at all for like an actual job. So I think that it makes sense with regards to that. Now, I wanted to follow up on that, right? Because it does sound like, you have analyzed like the bootcamp industry from what you've said. Like you've analyzed like, okay, like this is what like, is generally what is being done within the cybersecurity bootcamp space. And I know one thing that is like pretty heavy within the bootcamp space, or even education in general, is like negative reviews, and like people having something to say about like, boot camps in general or a specific company, right? So if you go online and you're like, oh, cybersecurity boot camp, like which boot camp should I choose? Probably see like some stuff on Reddit that's like mixed. It's like, oh, don't do a boot camp, just watch free YouTube videos, or don't do a boot camp, just do try hack me or hack the box. Like there's a mix of like, oh, I went to a boot camp, I did very well. Like, so first question, first
Yeah,
question
there's a
is like,
disparity, right? Yeah.
yeah, there's a it's always very polarizing, right? Because you have
Yeah.
people on one side who are like, no, I paid like multiple dozens of thousands of dollars and didn't get anything out of it. And people are like, oh, this is the best thing that ever happened to me. I got a job right after, right? So it's like my first question is like, what has been the general outcome of the bootcamp? And we're gonna, I mean, like we're in the live that we're gonna have next week. We have a couple of folks from Level Effect who are going to be on there. I think two or
Yeah.
three of them. So that'd be really
Yeah.
cool to see, live and direct. But from your experience, like what has been the general outcome of the boot camp? And then on the flip side of that, how have you handled the negative feedbacks or reviews if there has been some of those? Here at CyberWOX, our mission is simple: to provide top-notch cybersecurity education and career guidance to help you succeed. We've been consistently delivering on this promise for over 4 years. With our expanded resources, we're better equipped than ever to support you. If you're looking for more career advice on cybersecurity, cybersecurity engineering, personal growth, productivity, and even job opportunities, then check out our CyberWOX Unplugged newsletter. You can subscribe at cyberwoxunplugged.com or use the link in the description. You can also join our thriving community of about 5,000 cybersecurity enthusiasts on the CyberWorks Academy. Here, you can find mentorship, coaching, career help, and a supported network to boost your growth at every stage of your cybersecurity career. Whether you're into offensive security, defensive security, cloud security, DevOps, DevSecOps, or even have interests like anime, watches, personal finance, or cars, there's a channel where fellow cybersecurity enthusiasts are eager to connect with you. If you need help landing your first job, we've got you covered with our resume template for entry-level professionals and our comprehensive career plan and Notion template to chart your path to success. And if you're a fan of our Cyber Stories podcast, it's now available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So don't forget to subscribe or follow and leave a rating to support our mission of making cybersecurity accessible to everyone. And finally, I'm super excited about our upcoming winter merch drop for the CyberWOX Essentials collection, which will be live soon. It's going to be amazing. So in order to make sure that you don't miss out on that, head over to store.cyberworks.com and sign up for our mailing list so that you'll be notified as soon as we release this collection. Look, we deeply appreciate your support and are committed to continually expanding our resources to make cybersecurity education, community, and career guidance more accessible. Now, let's dive back into the video.
Yeah, for sure. So the general outcome, I think, has been honestly sort of in line with a lot of the general boot camp scene that we saw. 2020 to 2022, huge demand. I mean, there were students that could take almost any boot camp at that point, grab a Sec Plus, hop into a job, have crazy imposter syndrome, and get through it.
Yeah.
Right? Like we saw that. So we definitely saw that level of success, and then from the 2022 up until now, we've seen that kind of outcome as well. Like there is definitely a shift.
Yeah.
But what we have seen, because we actually never really got too focused on the job metrics. There was a time
Mm,
back in 2022 when we were like, yeah, let's just like follow this, let's track it all because
yeah.
this is really good. And the metric was great. Like it was 91% within 6 months, we're getting a job. But we told students, we're like, that's not going to last forever. Like there's an industry
Mm,
demand happening, and truthfully, that number should be lower. Like you should probably expect maybe like a 40 to 60%. Like that's kind of
mm,
where things are going to go eventually.
yeah.
And I think that's what we're seeing right now is now that the market is sort of course corrected. that is the general trend. Whether you take a boot camp, whether you teach yourself, whether you go to school,
Yeah.
it's hard to get in. So we're not like, I guess, we're not like, I don't know what the word over here is I'm trying to say, but I guess we didn't avoid that. Maybe that's a better way to think about it. We were still
Hmm.
seeing the same level of outcomes. Good successes, market dipped, so did our successes as well too.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, there is one success track record that we can confidently say, and we say to everyone, is that the students that have gotten to the interviews and have presented themselves, we haven't had one person in the 4 years of doing this ever come back to us and said that they weren't prepared. That
Mm.
we can say, and I can say this here, and you can ask me in the comments. Like, this is
Yeah.
recorded. We have never had people that got to the interview, went through the technical, and just like bombed it. It
Yeah.
just didn't happen. So that we're proud on and we're confident on, and we're going to continue sticking through that.
Yeah.
Um, I guess like to the second point, comments and negative reviews. Man, we got flamed like internally for years, like as we were doing this. Okay, so like we're not perfect, and we don't say you have to go to Level Effect. There's a lot of ways into cybersecurity, and we
Yeah.
advocate that you don't need to go to us. Um, First year doing this, the program, the feedback we got was it was too long. It was too advanced.
Mm.
Like we were having students take apart malware and Ghidra. Like they were doing reverse
Oh, wow.
engineering. Like it
Wow.
was too much. Like so we're like, okay, let's yes, we wanted to build a trade school, but maybe this is too much of a trade
Yeah.
school. The feedback initially for the first year and a half was students wanted to just really repeat on those SOC tier one competencies.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
we did that. We scaled the program back. We took out some of the super advanced stuff, and we're going to bring that back later. And that's one thing. But we adapted. We changed the program every 6 months at least, is like minor tweaks, major revisions.
Mm.
So the program started off as like a 15 to 16 week fully extensive thing, and
Yeah.
then it wasn't up until last year really where we rolled out the virtual SOC, because that was
Mm.
feedback too. Students are like, "Well, this is good education, good labs, good challenges, but what does it feel like to be a SOC analyst?" So we said,
Yeah.
okay, let's build you a virtual SOC. We're going to give you
Mm.
tickets. We're going to give you indicators to work off, and these observables. We're going to map them to CTI concepts.
Yeah.
And off you go. Like, here's your ticket. Like a user clicked on something, it's been recorded. This
Yeah.
domain has been tracked. Find out what is inside of this network traffic or this log index and associate that to a threat. So they get that
Yeah.
experience by the end, but we've definitely had feedback and we were told what we needed to improve upon and we acted on it. And we love it. Like that's how we have a program today. So tell us
Yeah.
what we do wrong and we're gonna fix it. Like
Yeah.
full stop. We like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I love and appreciate the transparency there, because I think one of the biggest things that I've also noticed within the boot camp space, because believe it like or not, like I because of the space I'm in, like being a content creator and I'm always wanting to
Mhm.
provide like valuable content to my subscribers. I'm always researching like what the trends are with regards to like education, training, and all that stuff. And one
Yeah.
thing I see with regards to like boot camps and some training providers in general, well, specifically boot camps, is like there's a little bit of like like some sort of like level of like censorship or like secrecy to like how like things are done, like, or like like changes, or like beyond just like the paper like syllabus or curriculum, like what is being taught inside the boot camp, and also like what they're doing to improve the boot camp, update it, like, and also align it with like industry trends. And for me, like, if you're able to be transparent and open and honest with what you're teaching, how you're improving, and also just the fact that some things haven't worked, didn't work, but you've found ways to
Yeah.
improve them. I think like that's enough to kind of show like the constant progress and continuous iteration and improvements that's going on. And I think like that also helps, like, because I mean right now, like the program is great, at least from the results, but it only makes it better over time. So I think that's definitely very, very helpful information, at least for anyone who might be considering it.
Mhm.
You've said a lot about the current cybersecurity job market. And
Yeah.
it's more so been with regards to you know, boot camp and the results and all that stuff. But let's speak objectively about the cybersecurity job market right now, because it's
Yeah.
crap right now. The entire job market right now is pretty bad. So
Yeah.
from your perspective, right, as a trainer, as a founder of the boot camp, and also as someone who's also interacting with a lot of people who are now getting into the job market or will be getting into the job market, in the next 3 6 months, 1 year. One, what does that look like right now? Like from your perspective, what does it look like? Two, you know, what should people be doing if they're trying to like be good or be the best candidates for jobs right now within the state of the cybersecurity job market?
Yeah, good questions because I think it's on everyone's mind, like exactly what you are stating right now. And I think what we're seeing, and this actually kind of ties back to what you had asked like previously, is that you write
Mhm.
what you know,
Yeah,
and truly that's what we're seeing. Is you'd see these comments popping up of like never go to boot camp, never go to a college, like there's a lot of that because people
yeah.
write what they know, and they're going to advise you to do different things. So we're seeing that now actually resurface a lot more because the general job market has said yes, that it's not good, it's pretty crappy. So now that supply and demand has sort of course corrected itself, now more than ever you're seeing it very openly stated, right, that
Mm,
cybersecurity is not entry level, that
yeah,
cybersecurity is something you have to gain experience in IT related things prior to, in any shape or form,
yeah.
and you're going to have to work really hard to get into it. So and now it's sort of like an open thing, like everyone's saying yes, you got to build your home lab and everything, but prior to, when the market was great, again, you write what you know. You saw a lot of people just saying, "Go grab your Sec Plus, take a boot
Yeah,
camp, and you're probably going to get a
yeah,
job." And they weren't wrong. That was totally true for a while.
yeah, yeah,
Um, you probably hurt yourself a little bit, and like I said, strong imposter syndrome once you got on the job, but it's
yeah,
fine. You can work through it. Not a big
yeah,
deal.
yeah.
Um, so yes, the current state of the market right now, I think, has always been what it has been. It's just there was an inflation that sort of covered it up. And
Mhm.
you always needed that experience prior to. It's just we needed
Yeah,
people prior, and
yeah,
they were throwing you in. And
yeah,
it wasn't enjoyable, but you did it anyway because why not? It's going to be a good payout.
yeah.
So now it's back to how it was. You need that level of experience of the IT side of things, whether it's
Mhm,
personal, nonprofit, volunteer, it doesn't matter. Just get it. And then layer on your cybersecurity knowledge on top and then demonstrate it. So
mhm.
that's really the biggest thing. That's how you're going to stand out. And we're seeing students now getting their jobs that way instead
Yeah.
of just the old way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very, very interesting because I mean, I didn't get cybersecurity until 2020, which was like in the
Mhm.
pandemic. I feel like I
Mhm.
was in that midpoint of like where that shift like started, like where that like that drop off point because like it was kind of like ooh, I was like 2020, and then it's like started going slowly downhill from there because pandemic was
Yeah.
definitely a big boom, but like afterwards when things kind of like corrected, it's kind of like going downhill.
Yeah.
But I definitely agree with you on that with regards to like previously it was much easier to just like get like a security plus or like this or that or even maybe have a degree and kind of get a cybersecurity job. But
Yeah.
I think, like you said, it was probably due to a higher demand. I think there's still a demand right now, but like the demand is more for like experienced people, for people
Yeah.
who have already been in the industry or who have some sort of like previous like cybersecurity experience of some sort, or IT experience as well. And I
Yeah.
think like I have a sort of a different kind of like perspective to like what one should do, but I do think like there is a path for people who want to like build some experience in like some domain or some field before then go into cybersecurity.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely going to be a lot harder. It is a lot harder now to like just kind of like go straight into cybersecurity, whether it's like on the defensive side or the offensive side. Because I know like typically like people try to be like, oh, defensive security or SOC analyst roles are like a lot more easy to get. But I'm seeing more and more SOC analyst roles like being a lot more like beefy now, like expecting you like to
Yes.
like know a lot of like really really
Yeah.
in-depth stuff like forensics like malware stuff. And
Yep.
I think it's definitely the bar is
Yes.
much higher now, right?
Yeah.
It's not the same as before. So I think, but I think with parity, with the bar being higher, access to resources is a lot more now than before, right? So like before, like it could be like, oh, you need to learn these skills. You have to like go through like a very niche program, or like someone have to like would have to like personally train you, or you have to like build your own lab. But now
Yeah.
there's several affordable resources out there
Yes.
that can help you build those skills, like even courses like for $30 you can get like really really like
Exactly.
affordable courses that would teach you like those skills. and get you job ready in no time. So I think it's like as the bar has shifted, the availability of resources, the affordability of resources, and the widespread of knowledge is also increased. So if
Yeah.
you want to get into the industry, there's a lot more available for you to get in. It might just be harder, but you have the
Yes.
information you need, you have the resources you need, and you have, and they're also affordable as well. You don't have to, shell out a lot of money on like college education. If you want to, you can. But I think there's also been like as the bars, moved, other things have moved with it as well. And it's up to those
Mhm.
people who really have the tenacity, the drive, the consistency to leverage what they
Yes.
have and match themselves with the bar, with where the bar is right now.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah, absolutely. It's the bars went up. The people that want it will get it. They just have to work harder for it, as they probably should have been. Like if the market wasn't as inflated as it was, I think we wouldn't be having this mass perspective change of like, hey, now cybersecurity is terrible to get into. I don't think it's terrible per se. It's just this is more real. Like this is
Yeah,
the
yeah,
reality of it, right? And
yeah,
now if you want it, hey, it's waiting for you. And you're totally right. Like the resources available now, geez, like I look, like I said, 2015, training didn't exist. So
yeah.
if you want to get in cybersecurity now, it is the best time.
Mm,
Affordable options across the board. Anywhere from 30 to a couple $100s is enough.
yeah,
You can build your own stuff. There's lots of YouTubers, lots of great content out there. You just got to put in the work. And if you
yeah,
can do it, then you're set. But like yes, as you said, I think the SOC 1 analyst role that we've seen previously of, oh, just like triage some tickets of there's a domain here, kind of inspect it, that will start to decrease, and we should start seeing a demand of SOC 2 and plus kind of skill sets as the general cybersecurity, and rightly so.
yeah,
I've always told students to do, like, you don't want to be an analyst forever. It's a
yeah,
firefighter position. You
yeah,
like, if there's a forest fire outside, are you just going to get thousands of firefighters, or do you want to get to the root cause once and for all? And
yeah,
that's where the market is actually shifting.
yeah,
So it's
yeah.
exactly. I agree with you totally.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. I think with regards to like where the market is going and like where the industry is going, at least from what I have seen in like my
Mhm.
recent experience, it's like you said, like it's gonna be more so of like those SOC 2 level analysts. Like SOC 1 is starting to seem more of like, well, SOC 2 analysts now are sort of people who are not just triaging, but like probably like triaging to the point of like remediation as well. And then the
Yeah.
more higher severity incidents are being like escalated to like level 3, or like if there's like an engineering tier or whatever the case may be. And
Mhm.
then level 1 is typically like now, I don't want to go into AI and all that stuff, but a lot of the level 1 stuff is at some point, even right now, being like fully automated. Like you could have like
It's yeah.
actual like fully automated workflows in
Mhm.
SOAR, like Splunk, SOAR, Tines, N8N, that
Yeah.
would automatically like remediate specific things based off of like user interaction, analyst interaction, or just specific workflows. And then if there's anything that needs to be escalated, it goes to analyst 2. Analyst 2 is able to work Sev 4, Sev 5 severity alerts to remediation. If there's any edge
Mhm.
case, that can be escalated to analyst 3 or engineer who can work on that, tune the automation, make automation a lot
Yes.
better, essentially not needing an analyst 1 to triage, Sev 5s or like info level alerts. So and the process keeps going on and on like that. And then as your SOC keeps getting better and better and better, your automations, become a lot better, right? You have more indicators, you have,
Mhm.
a lot more context to help it become better. And then
Mhm.
level 2 analysts start growing into level 3 analysts and become engineers, all of that. Or there's another sort of like environment where like there are no SOC analysts at all. Everybody is a detection and response
Yes.
engineer.
Yeah.
So it's like there's no analyst. It's like you're the detection engineer putting the alerts,
Yeah.
tuning them, and also responding to them and remediating them.
Yes.
And that's what I've seen like more like startups, more sort of like SaaS companies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So and there's automation for like a lot of workflows. Most of those teams are actually even smaller. You have like 2, 3, 4, 5 engineers, which
Mhm.
some of them focusing on like building alerts, tuning them, building out automation, responding to those alerts as well, and then also like remediating any issues as well. So I think, like you said, like you don't want to remain an analyst forever. You want to build those skills and start
Yes.
using them to like either grow into a higher level analyst or eventually become an engineer. I think there's still space for analysts because what I'm finding now is like I'm spending my time between investigation and engineering, right? So
Yeah.
within our security operations structure, like I'm probably like a elf, like a level 4 analyst within the structure. But I'm doing both like analysis, hunting,
Mhm.
investigations, but also engineering with like automation and all of that stuff. So you want to like keep growing your skills so that you don't remain like level 1 analyst level, and you can start getting to the point where you're tuning alerts, you're building your own detections and all of that stuff, and essentially like kind of like building yourself up into a higher level analyst or an engineer.
Totally. Yeah. We're looking at a landscape of triage as needed, but then prevent all the time. Like
Yeah,
that's really the focus. And that is why we're starting to hammer so down on like we're building that detection engineering course.
yeah,
Talus, he's the co-author over here with Greg. There's a reason why we're doing that.
yeah,
And there will be a time for sure and soon, maybe in the next year to two, if not sooner, where we just see that like your SOC analyst is going to be primarily what we're talking about right now. You're going to
yeah,
have to be able to have detection engineering involved, and you're just going to have an expected analyst triage skill set.
yeah,
And you might learn a little bit of that on the job because you still need a market funnel. Like you still need people to train and get on the job,
yeah,
but the job itself won't have as much triage as it does right now because we don't want that. That's a lot of time
yeah,
and resources and money, and we need to
yeah,
minimize that. That's what's going to really reduce the amount
yeah,
of jobs out there and just make them intermediate and up. So,
yeah,
yeah, everything you're saying is everything that we're hearing from students. Is things that we've seen in the field.
yeah.
I don't think it should be a surprise to anyone listening that within the next year to two, yeah, we should start seeing just generally more of that direction increasing.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm glad we had this conversation because I think it's something I should have probably even made a video about, like, with regards to my audience, like, kinda, like, just letting them know, like, "Hey, like,
Mhm.
now is a good time to improve your skills so that, like,
Yes.
in the next couple of years, it might not be next year, it might not be next 3 years, like, it might be the next 5 years where roles are gonna be more focused on XYZ, you're ready, you
Yes.
have those skills, and, you're not, left behind." I have a couple more questions, I wanna go over.
Yeah, yeah.
So, with the Level Effect program, there's a so you can get credits for Purdue University. How does that work?
Yeah. So whether you take our on-demand or our live course, you just have to complete the virtual SOC portion. You gotta be able to show your stuff. And if you
Yeah.
can do that, then we will award you, well, not us rather, but Purdue Global will give you 59 credits to a
Mhm.
bachelor's degree in cybersecurity. So anyone who's looking for a degree, whether it's for your job, a cert check, whatever it might be, what maybe just want and like a degree, and it's good for the academic route as well.
Mhm.
Both our programs are qualified. They were audited entirely by the Purdue team. They took months. They went through a program entirely. This wasn't just like a weekend, hey, off you go kind of thing.
Yeah.
No, no, no. They went through it all. And if you complete either or, you can be awarded 59 credits towards your degree, which is a third. A third of your degree is shaved right off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like, it's like a 2, yeah, 2 birds with 1 stone. Like, you go through the program and, like, you could possibly have, like, a third of your degree, already shaved off. That I
Yeah.
think that's I like that because, so personally, like I went through WGU, the IT
Yeah.
degree. So it's like you get both certifications and the certifications also apply to your degree program. So in a situation where you can go through this program, get, the training, get the skills, but also as a result, get like, credit units or credit hours for a university. I
Mhm.
think that's very valuable for some people who might want to like consider like a computer science or cybersecurity degree even. So
Yeah.
that's a really nice added benefit as well. My last question for you is this. I always ask all of my guests this questions towards the end. What's next for you and for Level Effect? If we were to talk again next year, right, or next 2 years, what should we expect from Anthony and also possibly from Level Effect?
Um, so it's an interesting time for you to be asking that because we actually just sort of finalized some internal things that we've been cooking up. Uh,
Mm,
we believe in a post bootcamp world of cybersecurity. We do.
wow. Okay.
We see it. We like. There's a time limit on everything. There was a post
Yeah.
bootcamp world in the developer space as well too.
Yeah.
And it is kind of inching up. Um, and we have been preparing for that. And there's a reason why our on-demand course is now. You can go take it. It's 4.99. It is the bootcamp trade school, however you want to call it. It's our program. You can take it
Yeah.
yourself. So the post bootcamp space, I think we are going to be needing to see a lot more emphasis on experience based type of training and that intermediate cyber
Yeah.
bracket and up. I think if you were to
Yeah.
go throw a dart on the wall, you would hit a target of a cybersecurity training entry level course anywhere right
Yeah.
now. Like it's
Yeah.
just flooded.
Yeah.
That but that has to come to an end, and I think we need to see intermediate cyber coming up. So from
Yeah.
us, expect some big news. There's also something coming up in October where we are going to be doing some really cool things for Cybersecurity Awareness Month and really try to just bridge that gap faster for the whole industry. We have a big
Yeah.
plan, some announcements coming soon on that, but it should be fun and accessible for everyone. And also that data science machine learning space.
Mm,
That's also something we're focusing on too. Is we're
yeah.
focusing on intermediate cyber and up because if you've had a conversation with any senior data scientist, you can talk and it feels like you're having a cybersecurity conversation. It's the
Yes.
same
Yeah.
language.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just one is based on algorithms, one is
Yeah.
based on tuning tools
Yeah.
as you're like a detection engineer. So there's a reason why we're focusing on that too, because that'll be part and parcel of the up and coming thing. So expect more detection engineering content, more AI, data science, machine learning content, defer content. That's coming from us in a post bootcamp space, and we're going to try to move the industry along the best we can to get past that entry level
Yeah.
world. So that's
Yeah.
what's coming. More to share on that. We're pretty excited
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess look out for that. I'll be involved. I'll be reaching out to anyone who will be interested in that.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited for that. I saw the data science course that was released a while back with like I forgot the name, but it's like something involving like Jupyter notebooks and a bunch of,
Yes.
really good like in-depth like using data science for cybersecurity applications. And you're really,
Yes.
really like correct about the fact that like when you talk with a data scientist and like a cybersecurity professional, it's like it's so similar. Like as a matter of
Yeah.
fact, I can confidently tell you like in my last couple of roles, even till now, data scientists are actually even being embedded into cybersecurity teams for the sake
100%.
of like using their skills to like analyze like log data, like statistical trends, or even build like specific large language models to analyze like logs or different things like that. So like you're very, very right about that, because if you think about it, like we spend all of our time looking at logs, analyzing stuff, like clustering data, doing aggregations and all of that stuff. Like that is somewhat adjacent to like what a entry level or even mid level analyst will be doing. Visualizing the data, right?
Yes.
So I think there's a lot of applications between those two different fields. So I think it's super exciting. Uh, I know you've given me access to the course. I haven't
Yeah.
had the time to take it yet,
Go
but
through it.
I have made a commitment to do it, and I will do it, and I will definitely be sharing my experience with it on the channel, and also looking forward to all the cool stuff coming along, and also keeping in touch with what you folks are doing over there. I really love the mission. I really love how you're approaching education, how you're changing the landscape of education, especially with like intermediate and upwards, because like you said, there's a lot of entry level stuff out there. Like it's saturated. There's enough information. I like we
Yes.
can we can we can confidently say there's enough for an entry level, but when it comes to intermediate, advanced, and upwards, I think there's definitely a lot more that could be done there. Matter of fact, like some of what we focus on within the CyberWorks Academy Discord is with helping people go from like that entry level to intermediate level. Like, what skills should you be building based off the
Yes.
roles that you want to get into? Whether it's like more engineering, like cloud security, detection engineering, response engineering. Like, there needs to be a lot more emphasis there, and I'm super excited that you guys are going to be focusing on that. So looking forward to that. But this has been a great conversation, Anthony. Before we go,
Likewise.
is there anything that you want to share more about? Like, anything you want to plug that we're going to leave in the link in the description?
I guess maybe just like two little plugs over here is yeah, check out our on-demand course if you haven't already. We just kicked that off. It's on our website, and more importantly as well too, we're actually going to be releasing the applied data science for AI and cybersecurity. That's coming up. That's
Nice.
an on-demand course. That's going to be coming out the end of September. So there's going to be some big news drop in the next week or so, just how to get on their wait list, maybe get a free seat, discounted seat kind of thing. So a couple of little plugs over there, but yeah, I've enjoyed it, man. This has been a great conversation. I love being able to have this exchange and dialogue, and I hope this can spread some awareness, just so people can hear where the industry is going. It's an amazing industry. Like
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is really fun.
Yeah.
So it's never been a better time. And once again, thank you for having me on this episode.
Yeah, most definitely. Thank you for coming on, Anthony, and thank you guys for watching so much. We'll see you in the next video. Bye bye. Hey, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Cyber Stories podcast. We really appreciate your support. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to like and subscribe for future episodes, and comment down below the one thing you learned from this podcast. Also, don't forget to check out the video description for various resources to kickstart or advance your cybersecurity career. You can also choose to binge on our previous episodes by clicking on this playlist on your screen. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.